Hello, everyone. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Currently just gone 4:15 in the PM here in the UK. And we have an active manhunt. Actually started last night around 7 PM. However, I wasn't aware of it until lunchtime today. Because I have no idea what goes on in my country. I know what goes on in everyone else's country, but my country, I don't know. I don't know. It seems things just pass me by. But this is a horrible situation. Horrible situation. And the police have been very quick to name the suspect and to do a press conference. So we're going to talk about it all. 1:15 a.m. for Rocket Queen. 17:18 in North Africa. Hello, everybody. A few people coming in. So for those who haven't heard about this, well, I'm learning. I think people are just, I think even in the UK, people are just becoming aware of how serious this situation is. So the person that is wanted is 26-year-old Kyle Clifford. He's from Enfield in North London. So we're going to get the map up. And the three women, a mother and two grown-up daughters, were slain with a crossbow attack. So it's pretty unusual to hear about crossbow attacks in the UK. You know, we have a massive problem with knife crime here. Not so much gun crime, although there is gun crime, but not so much gun crime. It's all knife crime. So to hear that this young man allegedly slayed these three women with a crossbow, and the police are also saying that there could have been other weapons involved as well. So we've even got doorbell footage of him running away. So the police have been very quick to get this news out, because this is a threat. This man is armed and he's dangerous. I just hope that he doesn't get access to a gun. If he gets access to a gun, then this is horrible. This is a horrible situation. This will rival the manhunt for Roll Moat from a few years ago, if you remember, from the northeast. Local schools have been informed, and the school closest to where this man lives is still open, but they're just keeping the kids inside. So, you know, all precautions are being taken in the local community. But yeah, so I'll go through the basics, and then we're going to play the press conference. I'm going to show you the doorbell footage, and that's basically all we know so far. But let's go to Sky News first here. Let's make this bigger. All right, let's make it even bigger. That made it disappear. Let's do that one. All right. So this is from Sky News. Manhunt underway after murders of wife and two daughters of racing commentator John Hunt. Now, it's actually only in the last, I would say, an hour and a half that the victims were actually named. When the press conference happened at 12:30, so press conference was less than 4 hours ago, but they hadn't named the victims then. But John Hunt is a racing commentator, works for Sky. I think he works for Channel 5. So they're actually well known, relatively. John Hunt's well known. If you listen to racing. But his wife and two of his daughters, can you imagine? Now, the police are saying this is a targeted attack, and they're intimating that it's possibly some kind of domestic homicide. But it's so new. I think the police are only learning about what's actually going down themselves. So this is Hertfordshire. warning the public not to approach Kyle Clifford, who is wanted following the murders of Carol Hunt, who's 61, and 2 daughters in their 20s. So, Louise and Hannah died at their home in Bushey, which is Hertfordshire, near London. Get the map up in a second. And this happened yesterday evening. Now, I don't know who actually called the cops, but apparently neighbours heard screaming. So I don't know who called the cops. Maybe it's in a news report somewhere. If you know, let me know who called the cops. Was it a neighbour? Was it John himself? You know, maybe coming home and seeing his wife and daughter slain. I'm not sure. But this is an armed man, armed with a crossbow and potentially other weapons. Not his wife and kids. No, not this man's wife and kids. Not this man's wife and kids. This is Kyle Clifford. But John Hunt, the racing commentator's wife, 61-year-old Carol, and then 2 grown-up daughters, Louise and Hannah, who are both in their 20s. So this is the man that's wanted. So I'm guessing, as there's intimation that it's a domestic homicide, it's that maybe his ex-girlfriend or something. That's just a speculation on my part. I don't know exactly yet how Kyle is related to these people, but the police are saying it is targeted. So police have said that they want this dude to turn himself in, and they made a direct appeal to him in the press conference that we're going to listen to shortly. It's only like 2 minutes of a press conference. That was it. They didn't answer any questions or anything. Yeah, it's your worst nightmare, isn't it? It's your worst nightmare. So that's where it is in the southeast. Okay, so Mr. Simpson, who's the officer who did the press conference, just said it was horrific. I don't know how else to describe it, honestly. So emergency crews were sent to a property in Ashling Close in Bushey, and it's a really nice neighbourhood as well, as you'll see when we go down to Street View. Just before 7 p.m. on Tuesday, they found the 3 women aged 25, 28 and 61 with serious injuries, and they died a short time later at the scene. So they were actually alive, and paramedics tried to save them, but they all died. It's just crazy. Mr. Hunt, so John Hunt, works for Sky Sports Racing and BBC 5 Live. So not Channel 5, BBC 5 Live. In a statement, Sky Sports Racing said, everyone at Sky Sports Racing is deeply saddened by the tragic deaths in Hertfordshire, and our thoughts are with our colleague, John Hunt, his family, friends at this awful time. A note sent to BBC 5 Live staff described the news as utterly devastating. It read, our thoughts are with John and his family at this incredibly difficult time, and we will provide him with all the support we can. So that's John Hunt. I don't follow racing, so I don't know the dude. I know his name, but I wouldn't know him if I saw him in the street. But that's John, and that's Carol, who sadly lost her life. And the 2 daughters, I mean, just beautiful young women slain with a crossbow. I mean, what does he think he is, Robin Hood or what? I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of a murder with a crossbow. Like, not in recent years, anyway. Why a crossbow? He must be an archer. He must have, you know, archery skills to be able to kill 3 people with a crossbow. But again, it's possible that other weapons were involved as well. No, they're not illegal. No, anybody can get a crossbow. It's illegal to walk about the streets with one, like, you know, aiming it at people. That would be considered threatening behaviour. Like, you can't walk down the street with a knife threatening people, but you can walk down the street with a knife. You just can't, like, use it in a threatening manner. So no, crossbows are not illegal. There's no weapons that are illegal in the UK. People think that we're really strict on weapons. We're not. It's handguns that are restricted. Like there's only certain types of handguns you can get, and you can only get them like if you're licensed and for very specific reasons. But things like air guns, shotguns, you need a license for a shotgun, but air guns you don't need a license for. Anybody can get an air gun. And I know we could have the weapons debate. Should they be illegal? Should you need a license for a crossbow? They're actually a weapon that you need skill to use, though. You can't just buy a crossbow and start firing it without lots and lots and lots of practice. So air guns. I don't know very much about air guns at all, but there's lots of different types of them. But you can have an air gun. Okay, so this is Louise, 25, and this is Hannah, who's 28. So I don't know whether this lowlife Kyle Clifford, who's the suspect, he's not been convicted, he's innocent till proven guilty in a court of law, but the police obviously have information to name him so early in the case. They obviously have information, so he's on the run. Public urge not to approach him, that he's armed, he's dangerous, they don't know what state of mind he's in. So yeah, don't approach him, just call 999. And if you see him, he's from Enfield in North London, but the murders occurred in Bushey, which is a very, very leafy suburb of London. So it's understood that he used to work as a private security guard. So is it legal to own a crossbow? We're going to have the weapons debate. I can see what the British media are going to do. We're going to have this massive weapons debate. Should they be illegal? Should all weapons be illegal? I'm on the side of no. No, we shouldn't criminalize people for owning weapons. It's the way that they're used. Obviously, that's the problem. And look, if you make a crossbow illegal, if somebody wants to commit a murder, they're going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? So you have to have skill to use a crossbow. Crossbows are readily available to buy online. There's currently no registration system for owning one and no requirement for a license, but it is illegal for anyone under 18 to buy or own one. Well, that's not relevant because he's 26. Anyone carrying a crossbow in public without a reasonable excuse faces up to 4 years in prison. So I'm assuming that if you were carrying one down the street, then you'd need to have it in some kind of, covering. Like you can't walk down the road with a sword, but you can walk down the road with a sword in a scabbard, like in a sheath. Like I've got a sword. I can walk down the road with a sword. But if I've got it out of its scabbard and I'm brandishing it about, then it becomes a threat and then it becomes illegal. Ministers have considered tightening laws in a bid to stop the weapons from being used in violent attacks. The previous government, because we just had an election here in the UK like last week, the previous government had looked at bringing in firearms licensing style rules in the wake of an attempt to kill the late Queen with a crossbow. Really? I didn't know that. I know what goes on in other people's countries. I have no idea that the Queen was threatened with a crossbow. All right. They didn't manage it. The Home Office launched an 8-week consultation in February to see if there should be a licensing system to control the use, ownership and supply of crossbows. The work was completed in April, but the general election being called stalled any further progress until now. Newly appointed Home Secretary Yvette Cooper is understood to be in the process of considering the findings in the wake of the latest attack. So if you're a crossbow owner, I bet you any money you have to get a license soon. I bet you any money that they'll completely overreact. So police raid. Armed officers swarmed an address on Rendlesham Road, Enfield, on Wednesday morning, according to neighbours. Presumably that's where Kyle Clifford is thought to have been staying, or his family's address maybe. 2 officers stood outside the property at 1:30 p.m. after a cordon was removed. One neighbour, did not wish to be named, said they kept going in and out of the property carrying guns. The whole road was taped off. It was over quite quickly, but there's been helicopters flying around the area all day. I don't recognise the suspect at all. As far as I'm concerned, he didn't live at the house. All right, so he wasn't there. He wasn't there. Enfield Council has said police have told them there is no perceived threat in the area and the guidance is to carry on as normal. Okay. All right, so that's Ashling Close. That's where the crimes occurred. He may still be in possession of a weapon. They haven't found any weapons in the area. So as far as they know, he's still in possession of it. Detective Superintendent Rob Hall said this is an incredibly difficult incident for the victims' families. I think that goes without saying. We would ask that their privacy is respected as they come to terms with what has happened. Mr. Hall said, whilst we are in the early stages of this investigation, we're actively seeking Carl Clifford, who we believe could be in the areas of Hertfordshire or North London. Given the serious nature of the incident, I will ask anyone who knows where he is to contact police immediately. If you believe you see him, please do not approach him and dial 999 straight away. He may still be in possession of a weapon. So that's the address there. All right, let's go to the map then. So I've actually plotted the route to the nearest airport, because it's very close to Heathrow Airport. So it's very possible that he could have hopped on a plane. Like if he planned this, he could literally have got to Heathrow or Stansted. Stansted's like up here somewhere. Stansted's a little bit further away. Now it's only saying that it's going to take 56 minutes because it's rush hour at the moment. So in the evening, it would be quicker journey. It's actually only like one route's 24 miles. It was 17.7 miles, 26.3 miles. So it depends how quick the police were able to get an all ports bulletin out, like to all airports and ferry ports. But it's very possible that he could be abroad by now. He has connections in Malta, does he? Because, you know, obviously Heathrow is Heathrow the biggest airport in the UK? I think it might be. Like literally, you could get a plane to anywhere in the world from Heathrow. So it's in my opinion, if he planned it and he planned it well, that he would be at Heathrow within the hour. And he literally could have gone anywhere. All right, so this is Ashling Close. So as you can see, it's a suburb of London. London is here. And then it's all very posh around here, like Harrow's quite posh. Allegedly. But this is Bushy. Never heard of it. And this is Ashling Close. This is Ashling Close. So I think it's that house. Hold on. Hold on a minute. Just a helicopter view from earlier on. You're not going to show me the house, are you? There we go. There we go. All right. All right. So black door, and it's got an extension. All right. So it's not that one. Anyway, it doesn't matter which house it is, honestly. It might be that one. Doesn't matter which house it is. This is the street. So very quiet, very just an average suburban street. I bet the houses are expensive because they are. around there, anywhere in the vicinity of London. Very, very expensive to live here. You've got woods to the back. If you zoom out, you got woods to the back there. I don't think you can actually get out the back. You could, I suppose you could garden hop and then be off into these trees. Or are they all gardens? I think they're all gardens, so it's not woods. It looked like woods until I zoomed in, but it's not. It's people's gardens. So it's a wooded area there. But I would imagine that he'd be out of this area very, very, very quickly. You're 5 minutes from there. 5 minutes from there. Wow. It's way too close. I think he's out of the area. I'd be very, very, very surprised if he was still in the area. Like, I was listening to Sky News this afternoon and they had some like ex-cop on. And the reporter said to him, like, where is he likely to go? What is he likely to do next? And he said, well, you know, it depends on the person. You know, if they've got family who are willing to hide him, then that's probably his best bet in the short term. If you're staying with people who are not, you know, completely trustworthy, as soon as someone offers a reward, then they could get turned in. But if he's with family who are willing to hide him, then it could be there. But I would say he's out of the area. Might be completely wrong. He might be hiding out like Roll Moat did. Like Roll Moat didn't go very far. She hid in the woods for a few days before they caught him. So you got a train station there at Watford. Watford's I don't think he'll have waited at a train station. Not with the state of the railways here in the UK. You could be waiting 10 hours for a train. So I think if he's planned it, he'd have hightailed it to an airport. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong. Hope I'm wrong. He has the crossbow covered in a white blanket or something. Yeah. Let's show you actually. So this came out. This is in the Sun. So this is him. This is him walking away. So not even running, just, you know, a brisk walk with his crossbow under a sheet or a blanket. There's his car. There's his car. So what car is that?
Police were called to a property in Ashland.
So access to a vehicle. Well, I'm quite sure that they've tracked that vehicle. Not very conspicuous. No, he's just he's parked his car around the corner. And look, access to a vehicle. I bet you any money they find that vehicle like abandoned. Walking with purpose, yeah. Walking with purpose. Hope he's not close to Luton. We have enough nutters here. Looks like a Seat Leon. Okay. I'm not very good with cars.
Close just before 7 p.m. last night. Officers attended alongside colleagues from the East of England Ambulance Service and, on arrival, found 3 women with serious injuries. Sadly, despite their best efforts, the women, who are believed to be related, died a short time later at the scene. The victims are aged 25, 28 and 61.
So we'll listen to the full press conference in a minute. But let's see if any news here.
Last night with fatal injuries at their neat detached house with other weapons as well. It's understood the victims are a mother and her 2 daughters.
Okay, we know that.
John Hunt, father of the girls, is a BBC 5 Live racing correspondent. He's said to have found his wife and daughters with their terrible injuries at their home and called 999.
Right, it was him. He found them. All right, let me listen to that again, because like I said, I'd not heard who'd actually found them.
He's said to have found his wife and daughters with their terrible injuries at their home and called 999. Police have named 26-year-old.
Good grief. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And they were still alive. They were still alive. So they'll know approximately what time this went down, because neighbours heard screams. So police were called at 7. But if they can like pinpoint when the screams were, they can coordinate the neighbours to work out a story. And obviously they've got the footage, they've got the camera footage of him. So they'll know a time. There he is, going to his vehicle. So that plate there. Has he been clever enough to put a false plate on? Don't know. Let's see what else is in this article, because this was quite new. This had just come out when I went live.
When officers burst into a house, which is where Clifford apparently lives in the Enfield area, the suspicion is that Clifford totally lost the plot and murdered these poor women after turning up at their house yesterday at some point. Neighbours in Ashling Close have told her a fleet of police cars and ambulances turned up there after the 999 call was apparently made by John Hunt. Locals were warned by officers to stay in their homes, and they are clearly shocked by what has happened in their quiet community. The family are all professionals, as well as John being a BBC correspondent. Both daughters run their own small businesses, one apparently selling cosmetics and the other grooming dogs. Police and paramedics tried in vain to save the 3 victims, but they were all pronounced dead at the scene. Detective Superintendent Rob Hall, who is leading the inquiry, said with some understatement that it was incredibly difficult for the family of the women to deal with. The inquiry is being carried out by the Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire Major Crime Unit. The unit is an amalgamation of experienced detectives from all 3 forces. They will be looking into Clifford's background and speaking to associates. Police have not disclosed any potential motive for the murders, but such cases are invariably domestic in nature, with victims known to their attacker. The Sun has been informed that one of the daughters was in a relationship with Clifford up to the end of last year, and that he took it very badly when they broke up. Either way, the killer of these poor women must have had a serious grudge to do something so diabolical.
There we go. So he was in a relationship with one of the victims until the end of last year, and he took it badly. So what has he been doing in the last few months? Has he been, I don't know, has he been stewing over it for like 7 months or however many months it is? Has he been stewing over it? Some people do. Some people do. But what was the trigger for doing it now? Is my question. But okay, let's listen to this press conference. It's only 2 minutes. 2 minutes long. He didn't answer any questions. He literally just came out of the police station, stood outside, read a prepared statement and went. But at this point, this was about 12:30. So they didn't name the victims at that point. They'd not raided the house. They raided the house in Enfield at 1:30, so they'd not done that yet. So, this is moving incredibly quickly. So the little that we learned at the press conference, well, actually, we've got a little bit more detail with it now. Yeah, stewing on it. And that's the worst thing, isn't it? When you just stew and you ruminate and you just can't get over something, then you start to have really dark, vengeful thoughts. And maybe sometimes the trigger can be the object of his spurned love gets a new relationship, you know, something like that. You know, some life event happens that triggers it. Will I be at CrimeCon in September? No. That involves people, and also it involves London, so definitely not. If they did CrimeCon down the road here, then I'd go. But it's unlikely that they're going to ever do that. But let's listen to this press conference. I've put the CCs on. The volume isn't great. I'll turn my end up as high as I can. The volume isn't great. This is from the Telegraph. It was probably the best audio that I could find because they've audio boosted at their end. So literally 2 minutes, but let's just listen to it for the sake of completeness.
Good afternoon. I'm Chief Superintendent John Simpson, Head of Local Policing for Hertfordshire Constabulary. Police were called to a property in Ashland Close just before 7 p.m. last night. Officers attended alongside colleagues from the East of England Ambulance Service and, on arrival, found 3 women with serious injuries. Sadly, despite their best efforts, the women, who are believed to be related, died a short time later at the scene. The victims are aged 25, 28 and 61. Our overarching objective today is to protect public safety and to locate Kyle Clifford, who is wanted in connection with the murder of the 3 women in what we believe is a targeted incident. We have extensive police resources deployed to various locations in North London and also the Bushy area of Hertfordshire. The manhunt also involves armed police officers and specialist search teams responding at pace in the wake of what has been an horrific incident involving what is currently believed to be a crossbow, but other weapons may also have been used. If members of the public see Kyle Clifford, they urge not to approach him at any point and to dial 999 immediately. Kyle, if you're seeing or hearing this, please make contact with the police via 999. Beyond the immediate search operation, a major crime inquiry has been launched, and we also appeal to the public for any information in relation to the incident. This incident will be, of course, of concern to local residents. Additional local officers will be in the area today, so please do speak to them if you need to. You can report information online at hearts.police.uk/report, via web chat at hearts.police.uk/contact, or call 101 quoting Op Infona. Alternatively, you can stay 100% anonymous by contacting the independent charity Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111 or via their untraceable online form at crimestoppers-uk.org. Thank you.
What's the connection between Hertford and Snail?
That was it. So I didn't answer any questions. Again, this was at 12:30. So they'd not raided the house in Enfield where Kyle Clifford was presumably thought to be, but he wasn't there. And they hadn't named the victims. So we're only learning in the course of this afternoon, like it's 10 to 5 here. So it's only in the last couple of hours that the victims have been named as Carol Hunt, Carol Hunt, 61, 25-year-old Louise, and 28-year-old Hannah. So this is Hannah, 28. So one of them was a dog groomer and one of them sold cosmetics. So both had their own businesses. That's Louise, 25. And then we've got Carol here, 61. And that's John Hunt, who is a racing commentator, works for Sky News and BBC 5 Live. So very, very sad. And it's been believed that it was John that actually found them. Rang 999, paramedics got to the scene. They were still alive, according to reports, but they all died. I don't know whether John has any other children. I just can't imagine. Imagine going home, just like, like you've been to work or whatever, you come home and you just find your family just slain. I mean, I can't even get my head around that. Can you just imagine that? I mean, just horrific, horrific. Did she just get into a new relationship? That's what I've just said, little skulls. Yeah, it's often a catalyst. Like they relate. We don't know which of the women is his ex. He's 26, so it could be either of them, I guess. Louise 25 and Hannah 28. Could be either of them. But apparently that broke up last year. Took it hard, but you know, we're in July, so there has to have been a catalyst. And often in these domestic homicides, the catalyst is when it's clear that their object of their spurned love turned to hate has become, you know, involved with someone else. And you know, it's that finality, I guess, that person's moved on, and you're still in so much pain, and you start raging, and you do something really, really stupid. I mean, thankfully, domestic homicide is relatively rare. I mean, I say relatively rare, but any murders too many. One murder's too many. But to slay a whole family, I'm guessing the target was the ex, but the fact that there was others at home, obviously her mother and her sister would have defended her. So he had to have some skill with a crossbow to be able to take them all out with a crossbow. But the cop did say that there is potentially other weapons involved. Obviously, they'll have to wait for the autopsies to work out, you know, what type of weapon, in addition to the crossbow, could have been used. Can't imagine he'll ever want to set foot in that house again. I know. They were tied up, were they? So these are details that are, you know, we're hearing lots of stuff for the first time. So this is Kyle. So the police have named him. They named him within, you know, hours of this happening. So they obviously have reason to believe it's him, because there's he's caught on doorbell footage. On Sky News, police are at a cemetery with weapons. Are they? All right, let's go to Sky News. Let's go to Sky News then. But this is him. So the cops will have been able to have cleaned that up a little. And they're gonna know that license plate. All right, let's go to Sky News. Sky News. Sky News. Let's have a look. Sky News Live. Let me just. We've got here 2 live streams going. Watch live Alec Baldwin Rust shooting trial. So Keir Starmer, General Secretary, triple murder. So they're not live at the moment. It looks like a wrong one. He's a security guard. Let me do this. All right. Breaking news. Prince Harry appears in new ITV documentary as he vows to expose legal activities. Oh, legal activities. No, I don't want to receive notifications. So neighbours heard screams around 7 p.m. So 6 minutes ago, Rendlesham Road neighbour speaks of shock as armed police descend on property. See, that looks like a nice neighbourhood and all. Here we go. 11 minutes ago. Armed police search cemetery in Enfield. Armed police have been searching Lavender Hill Cemetery in Enfield, North London. Images show officers dressed from head to toe in black and carrying firearms as they scour the site. So they must have had a tip. He recently left the army, did he? He works as a private security guard. So that must be what he's doing since he left the army. Apparently his brother's doing a life sentence for murder. Really? So all of these details coming out. Wow. Don't like men who are too well groomed. Makes me think they're a bit slick in the Somali. To be honest, I feel the same. I feel the same about well groomed people. It's because I'm the ultimate scruff. So well groomed people make me nervous. All right. So maybe they had a tip off that somebody had seen him or somebody who looked like him. Imagine you go to, like, I don't know, go to your grandma's grave to put some flowers on, and you've got these cops. You've got these cops walking about with big guns. Good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, imagine. Oh, yeah, God. Home Secretary mulling whether to toughen up crossbow laws. Of course you're going to toughen up crossbow laws. That's exactly what you're going to do. All right, so it doesn't appear that they found anything at the cemetery. Killers don't all live in hovels. No, I know. It's a stereotype, isn't it? You know, you think, oh, it's a really nice neighborhood. I think you're more shocked when something kicks off in a really nice neighborhood. Like if you're living there and nothing ever happens. Like the worst that happens is, you know, your bin gets blown over in the night and, you know, there's some garbage that you've got to clean up in the morning. You know, that's the worst that happens in these neighborhoods. So people are just completely shocked when something kicks off. I mean, you'd be shocked regardless, you know, triple murder of a mother and two daughters. You'd be shocked wherever you live. But, you know, it's just that stereotype, it's that expectation that there's certain areas where you're a lot more cautious, where you expect bad things to happen more often than in these leafy suburbs, where the houses are worth a small fortune. Even a small house in this area is worth a small fortune. So, dear me. So neighbours speak of a private, close-knit family. Glyn Nichols has lived on the same road as the victims for 50 years. 77, Mr. Nicholas said. I knew them. I said hello to them, all that. I know one of the daughters because she's our dog groomer. All our daughters had their dogs groomed with Louise. So it's Louise who was the dog groomer. All right, so Louise is the younger daughter. She knew my wife, but the other daughter I didn't know at all. The father, I said hello to a couple of times. He's a racing commentator. He does work for the BBC, sometimes does Olympics, but was mainly employed by Sky at the races, presenting at the studio. All I knew is I was going to get dressed before the football started at 10 to 8. I was in most of the day and never knew anything until I looked out of the window. I don't know if it was her boyfriend, but put it this way, some of my dog walkers said that she'd had a traumatic boyfriend bust up the week before last. Oh, so there was a bust up the week before last. Now, it said on that previous report that they'd split up last year. So maybe they're aware that there was things going down like the week before last. They were a private family, all very nice, a private family. They all did their own thing. Louise started a business a couple of years ago, and it was a thriving business. We all took our dogs there to be groomed. They used to have a dog themselves, and they used to be out and about walking their dog. I'd just say hello, never stopped and talked. We're a close-knit family. They used to love the street. With his job, they probably could have found a more salubrious house, but they've had a lot of work done on their house over the years. They had a groomer's hut built for the dogs in the garden. I believe they had another daughter who lives away. So was Hannah visiting? So was Louise living there and Hannah was visiting, unfortunately? Or does that mean there's actually 3 daughters? I don't know the answer to that. Said that the girls were quite young when they came here. They were just young girls. They've probably been here 20 years. Imagine living there for 20 years. And then you come home and your family has just been slain. Imagine that. So 3 minutes ago, this is updating live. Police are now able to confirm if search narrowed to Hilly Fields area of Enfield. Footage posted on social media appears to show emergency services rushing towards the cemetery in Hilly Fields. As the Manhunt continues, armed police could also be seen in the video, with Hertfordshire police saying they were unable to confirm whether they had narrowed their search for the triple murder suspect to the area. All right, let's look for, what was the name of that cemetery? Lavender Hill Cemetery. All right, let's go to Lavender Hill Cemetery, shall we? Okay. Love and I'm allergic to lavender, by the way. Lavender Hill Cemetery, Enfield. Here we go. All right. Okay. So 19 miles, 16 miles. This is Lavender Hill Cemetery in Enfield. Whoa. Lavender Hill. Here we go. Here it is. So what's he, I think it must have been a tip off that somebody saw someone who looked like him. Let's go down to, how is this? So not much to see there. Stop giving me breaking news. I don't want to know about. Oh, I like the smell of horses. I love the smell of horses. I'm allergic to horses, though. And I'm allergic to hay, so only mildly I can cope with it. 3 daughters, according to Wikipedia. Okay, so good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, look, they're going to need all the support in the world, aren't they? Just absolutely crazy. So John Hunt's trending on Twitter. So look here. Whole horse racing community devastated to hear of the news from Bushy. It's just so sad. So sad. We're just going to get a lot of the same news. So my dad would have known this guy. My dad would have known my dad was into horse racing. So it's all basically well wishes. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, what's the matter with this world? We live in medieval. Well, he's used a medieval weapon, hasn't he? Yeah, victims were alive when they arrived at the scene. So Clifford left the British Army after a brief period of service in 2022. All right, so probably maybe they kicked him out. Who knows? Maybe he's always been unstable and they kicked him out. That's just a speculation. Just a speculation on my part. Let's see what else is going on here in this blog. CCTV shows Busby triple murder suspect Carl Clifford. So this is what we've seen, I think. So shows a person dressed mostly in black emerged from a property and carrying an object covered with what looks like a cloth. They walk towards the car, place the object on the back seat and get behind the wheel before driving off. Not as calm as you like. I wonder how long it takes to kill 3 people with a crossbow. Like all the license plate readers and everything that we've got. We're the most surveilled country in Europe. That car will be so trackable. That car will have had to get off the roads very, very, very quickly. Well, I'll do some updates on other cases. Elijah Vu, Athena Brownfield, Athena Strand. Nothing's going on in any of those cases. The courts have got to just take the what's the word? Due course. I can do some quick updates. Let's have a look. Elijah Vu. I know there's nothing going on in this case. I know that. Okay, so Elijah Vu's mother to change her plea. Interesting. Good. But they still haven't found him. Let's have a look. Let's have a look here. So she plans to change her plea in her child neglect case. So none of them have been charged with murder or anything. Attorney Lawson, what are we looking to schedule here? Said Honourable Robert Delwain. Miss Bauer would like me to schedule a plea, answers Han Lawson. A judge set Katrina Bauer's plea hearing for July 18th. So in 8 days' time, there's a plea hearing. Attorneys also discussed the future sentencing hearing, implying that Bauer's plea will result in her conviction. So as she decided to plead guilty, take it that we're looking to take a plea and get a PSI ordered. Yes. That would be a separate sentencing date. So it does look like she's intending to plead guilty to child neglect. So that's good. Jesse Vang. What's with the colour? What's with the colour? That's weird. Appeared in court last week where defence attorney said they're still waiting for evidence to be turned over. So his case just isn't moving at all. Athena Brownfield, that is stationary as well. Athena Brownfield. Let's have a look. So yeah, they pled not guilty. So there's just nothing new. The court's just going to have to, bear fruit. See if there's anything in the last month. Medical examiner releases cause of death. Well, that was released ages ago. So no. And then Athena Strand, that idiot who killed her, the delivery driver, he changed his plea a while back after confessing. So case continues 1 year after Athena Strand's murder. So that's from last year. Denied jail transfer. I don't even know whether there's a trial date been set for him. So we're just going to wait. Anything in the last month? Not by the looks of things. So no, not a lot going on in those cases. All right, let's have a look, see if there's anything else on this. Stop! Breaking news. Don't care. Got anything else going down here? No, not yet. Yeah, what a world we live in. The world's gone crazy. It has. Completely. Think he's tried to kill himself. Why do you think that, Jackie? It wouldn't surprise me. Like, if he's not legged it to the airport, he's not got many other places to run. I mean, they know they'll know his license plate of his car by now. That car will be being tracked. So he's got nowhere to run, really. Unless he made it to an airport, he's stuffed. He's not going to be he's not going to be able to use his bank. He's not going to be able to use his phone. He's not going to be able to email anyone. His whole world is now trackable. You could better believe that a judge has already signed off on all of that stuff. You better believe that that's happened. And he will be tracked to within an inch of his life. So his options now are very, very limited. He's the hunted. Yes, he is. He's the hunted. And his crossbow is no match for the level of weapons that those armed officers are walking around Enfield with right this moment. He's not going to get close to them with his crossbow. Just hopefully he doesn't have access to a gun, and then things could turn out very differently. Obviously, please don't approach him. Don't try to, you know, take the law into your own hands, because you just don't know what his state of mind is. But his options are limited. So, Kyle Clifford, turn yourself in, son. That's all you can do. You're not out of the country. Your options are limited. Turn yourself in. You know, you can save your own life that way. Turn yourself in quietly. You're not going to get shot by armed officers, because they will shoot you. Absolutely shoot you. Just ask Romo. They'll absolutely shoot you at the first opportunity. If you wince, they'll shoot you. Or you can do yourself in. So if you want to save your own life, yes, you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison where you belong. But paramedics rushing to cemetery. Where are you getting this from? Where are you hearing this? Hold on, just let me close some of these windows down. Oh. Here we go. Ambulance spotted leaving cemetery where armed officers have been searching for Kyle Clifford. An ambulance has been filmed leaving a cemetery near Kyle Clifford's home. Armed officers have been searching. Oh, so have they got him? Have they got him? Maybe he tried to hang himself or something in the cemetery. I mean, that'll be good.
What the hell?
What's this next up? No, they're not relevant. Cool. Let's do a search for Kyle Clifford on Twitter. If you put the no perceived threat to the public statement and these latest photos coming from Hillyfield Cemetery together, Kyle Clifford is brown bread. Yeah, probably had a standoff and eventually got sniped. Good riddance. Well, they will snipe you. They absolutely will snipe you. You look at them and they'll snipe you. You know, your best bet is to stay on the ground and do not move if you want to stay alive. So I wonder whether he's either tried to do himself in or... Oh. So I think they got him. I think they must have him. They're not going to send those paramedics in if they've not got him. We don't mess about. No, we don't. People think they're like the UK police are, you know, soft. But these armed tactical officers, you don't mess with them. But the fact that the paramedics are going in, like with like no qualms, they've got him. So either they've shot him or he's tried to do himself in. Interesting. Let's see. Let's see what comes out. That's right. It would spare John Hunt having to go to trial, but you know, so some people think that it's, you know, it's taking the easy way out, like to, you know, suicide by cop, which a lot of these guys want. It's the easy way out. It's the coward's way out. But it does spare. It spares. Look, let's be clear on this. It spares a lot of expense. You know, because this guy is going to spend the rest of his life in prison anyway. I bet you any money he'd be given a whole life order or 40 years or something. So he's going to spend the best part of his life in prison. So if he doesn't want that, his options are very, very, very limited. His options are incredibly limited. So suicide by cop. These guys are often too cowardly to take themselves out. Like they want a showdown with the cops because they want to be shot. And good riddance, in my opinion. However, some people, you know, some family members, they actually want to face the person at trial. They actually want it. Not everybody, by all means, but some people do. They believe that they deserve to face that person in court. Have we got anything else going down? You're gonna refresh here? No, you're not gonna refresh. You're not gonna bother. So I'm waiting for the news that they've got him. And journalists are pushing their luck. Yeah, they always do. Yeah, shouldn't do the crime if you can't do the time. Do you think he was at a family member's grave? Just thought it was less populated there. Yeah. I mean, he could have gone to a family member's grave. He could have chosen to, I don't know, take himself out or whatever in that location. Obviously, he's gone there for a reason. His mind wouldn't be thinking clearly. No. But oh, that's what someone in this chat was saying earlier. It seems the brother of Carl Clifford also has an existing conviction for murder. Temper seems to be an issue in the Clifford boys. Brother Brady Clifford convicted in 2018. Let's have a look at this. Mustang driver Bradley Clifford guilty of Enfield murder. Okay. So do we know it's his actual brother? Do we know that it's his actual brother or just someone with the same name in the same area? A driver has been found guilty of deliberately mowing down a moped after his prized Ford Mustang was damaged. Bradley Clifford, 23, from Enfield, chased Saban Khan, 18, and Joshua Francis, 19, after they struck his car with a bottle, the Old Bailey heard. They were both flung into the air by the collision, and Mr. Khan was beaten by Clifford as he lay on the ground, fatally injured. Clifford was found guilty of murder and attempted GBH with intent. The jury heard he became enraged when his high-performance Ford Mustang EcoBoost wing mirror was broken in the early hours of August the 5th. He then began a rapid, brutal, and unrelenting pursuit through the streets of Enfield. Wow. And then smashed his car up anyway. So instead of just getting a new wing mirror, which would cost him next to nothing, he decides to crash his car and smash it to smithereens and kill someone. Clifford pursued the moped not to apprehend the two people on it, but to mow them down for daring to damage his prized vehicle. Mr. Khan and Mr. Francis drove the moped into oncoming traffic and mounted the pavement as they tried to escape. Mr. Khan was beaten by Clifford, easily defenceless and fatally injured. On the ground. Wow. Mr. Francis escaped somewhat miraculously with minor injuries. So that's Saban Khan beaten to death. Wow. In a statement, Mr. Khan's family said, Saban was taken from us at the tender age of 18 years old. He was a great son, great brother, and a key family member. We will never recover from the grief. Dear me. Dear me. So that's Bradley Clifford, allegedly brother, unconfirmed, but allegedly brother of this clown Kyle Clifford. Wow. Nature or nurture with this family? Well, we could have that debate, couldn't we? A little bit of both. It's always both. It's always both. Keep expecting to see JLR to pop up. Yeah, well. Yeah, the mother must be so proud, yeah. Absolutely. And then you've got the victims. You've got the victims. Incredibly sad. Come on, I want to know they've got him. Hope this Kyle Clifford thing doesn't end up like the Royal Moat situation. Yeah. Well, I mean, Royal Moat though, like he was driving about with a gun, so at least a crossbow. It's not got the same kind of range, has it? So we want to know what's going on here. Huge flurry of activity in Enfield. Armed officers come park close to Cook's Hall Road. Block access to Lavender Hill Cemetery. Paramedics rush in and an air ambulance is nearby. So they've either got him or he's injured someone else. But the fact that they've let the paramedics to the scene, I think they've got him. Hospital will announce, I bet he only just got there. I think he was shot. I hope he was shot. Wonder if they found his car. Yeah, they may have found his car part there. Or someone called in a tip. It doesn't sound like this guy was highly coordinated, which is a good thing. Because, you know, if he'd thought it all through, if he planned it, you know, it does sound like he's in a rage and he's done it in a rage and not planned it. But if he had planned it, he's less than an hour away from Heathrow Airport. So he could have hopped on a plane before the cops even knew to, you know, who he was. But thankfully, it looks like it's not going to be an international manhunt. It looks like it's concluded. No, they're not normal police. No, they're the armed tactical unit. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. His car was found near the school. That's why the school was locked down. Oh, I see. Yeah, I knew the school had been locked down. So where's the school? Let's have a look at the map here. So this is the cemetery. I don't know where the school is. Hotel. I guess it doesn't matter. If they've got him, I guess it doesn't matter. Oh, there's a school. Oh, no, that's a riding school. Hilly Fields Park. And then this is a cemetery. I don't know. Going in, disturbing the dead. He was digging himself a grave. Wow. So let's see if there's anything else going down here. Come on, I want there to be news. Let there be news. I demand news. Kyle Clifford. So what we've got, the BBC also got a live blog going now. Police swarm cemetery. Armed police officers and ambulance staff arrived in numbers at a cemetery close to where a house was searched in Enfield. Cemetery is on the northern edge of the capital where fields separate housing from the M25 motorway. A woman questioned in Lavender Hill. Huh. So question a woman connected with Kyle Clifford. What was it? His mother, maybe? I don't know. Sister, maybe. Imagine turning up with flowers for your grandma's grave and you met with this lot. Imagine that. Well, I think the stress could possibly be over. Don't want to speak too soon. Hope he hasn't got a hostage. No, look, the fact that they let the paramedics in leads me to believe that it's not a hostage situation. Forensics now at the cemetery. It is a scary time to be alive, yeah. Yeah, what a time to be alive. I'm an atheist, but on days like today, I hope I'm wrong and I hope there is a hell. Wow. There is that. Avoid people on London. That is a very good advice there, Show Me Crows. That's a very good piece of advice. Avoid all people and London. Oh, Kyle Clifford has been shot dead, according to Melissa Norman on Twitter. Good. Saves the expense of a trial. Yes, it's the coward's way out. Suicide by cop. Took it from me. Yeah, well, I give the best advice. It's a shame people don't take my advice very often. Really? Criminals running from police into graveyard is a regular thing. I figured that out from living next to a graveyard and having people jump into my garden. Oh, wow. Queen of Ravens. Wow. The cemetery here is just across the railway, so at the other side of the railway. So I'm not aware if there's people running around in a cemetery getting chased by criminals. I'd hear about it though, because my cousin lives right there. She lives right near Edinburgh City Centre. Wow. Yeah, wait till the news announced. Yeah, so will I. But Scotland Yard forensic science vans arrived at Lavender Hill Cemetery. As the manhunt intensifies, 2 scenes of crime officers in blue overalls have entered the cemetery, which has been closed to the public. So we'll see if the news are reporting on it yet. The news aren't reporting on it yet. If you go missing, you want me and you guys to cover it. I will do. I will cover it. If you go missing. So we're still sharing that. That's from earlier. I think they've got him. I do. I think they've got him. The fact that they sent forensics in, the fact that they sent the paramedics in, you know, forensics are the cleanup crew, aren't they? They don't go into active scenes. We're just waiting for official confirmation. But we're still waiting. You're only going to Aldi after 8 p.m. and never on a Sunday. Oh yeah, the journalists, they'll try their best. They'll try their best. Reporter is speaking on Sky News now. No update yet. Okay. Let's see if we've got any live stuff going down. So what's this? CNN. CNN are there. That's just a helicopter. Let's have a look. Cute. So we're still waiting for official confirmation. They heard the shot, maybe. See, it's interesting that these live blogs are not updating, which leads me to believe that they're also waiting for official confirmation. Listen to this.
Park in Enfield. This is the latest stage now in the search for Kyle Clifford after a triple murder yesterday. This is Hillyfields Park in Enfield in North London. It's around 15 armed police have begun entering into the park. There are sniffer dogs with them as well. Their plan, we understand, is to sweep the park and see if they can locate any of Mr. Clifford's movements, even if he's not here, maybe work out if he had come here. We understand police did find Mr. Clifford's car, a black Seat car, abandoned around this area near a former address, family home, which we revealed police raided earlier this morning. Those same officers that raided that home have now massed here and are advancing fairly gradually into this 62-acre park. There is a lot of ground to cover in this park. There are multiple entrances and exits, multiple places he could have gone. However, on the whole, this is a fairly surveilled area. A lot of cameras around, a lot of Ring doorbells that he may have been captured on. A lot of people also willing to stick their phones up and film him and send it to the police if they do catch him around. But this is the latest major development here. Armed police are now on the ground in the search for Kyle Clifford. And if he is in this park, you have to think it could be only a matter of time before he's apprehended.
Okay, so that must have been from earlier. This is from earlier as well.
3 women killed in that incident in Ashton Close in Bushey are Carol Hunt and 2 of her daughters. Carol Hunt is the wife of the BBC radio commentator John Hunt. The BBC saying that the 3 women killed in this incident last night are Carol Hunt and 2 of her daughters. The daughters' ages, of course, 25 and 28. Carol Hunt, 61.
Okay, so we know all that. We know all that. Come on, I need an update. Need an update.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you back tonight or not?
Probably.
All right. I don't want to watch cricket.
From England's cricketers after a debut to remember for Gus Atkinson at Lord's today.
This was 4th peak of my 7 summits. I'm trying to complete.
Come on. Huh. Does anybody want to watch cricket? No. No. They still do cricket like that? Yeah, they do. It's very popular. It's very popular here. Do we know if you knew them? Yes. It's Louise's ex-boyfriend. So yes. We've learnt quite a bit. Is there a connection? Yes. It's Louise's ex-boyfriend. So this is Louise. It's her ex-boyfriend. So what was the catalyst for this, I don't know, rage killing? We don't know. But why he decided to kill Louise's mother and her sister is probably because they were there. Maybe they tried to fight him. Which is so sad. Which is so sad. They won't move the bodies until the crime scene is finished. No, but the bodies have been moved. I think they were discovered last night. What's going down now in the cemetery is, I think, most probably his capture. I mean, there's a report on Twitter saying that they've shot him, but that's unconfirmed. Controlling psycho, yeah. Narcissistic knobhead, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they probably have been telling him to leave her alone, yeah. She had a new fella and he was stalking, he saw him, went crazy. Yeah, I mean, this is what these idiots do. People with rage. I was just hoping it wasn't somebody who was really cool, calm, collected, went there with a plan, because he's within an hour's drive, much less than an hour's drive off Heathrow Airport. Like, so now we're in rush hour, but you know, at night it's a quick trip, like 20 miles to Heathrow from Ashling Close, where the victims were murdered. So I was hoping that, you know, if he planned it out, he could have, you know, got a flight before the cops even realized what was going down. But it obviously doesn't look like that. It looks like he was rage fueled and somebody just took his own car and then abandoned his car. It looks like it's a very easy win for the cops. Reporters are waiting for an update from emergency services. Yeah. So this is why these blogs are not updating, because they're waiting for news. The fact that an ambulance was leaving and there was an air ambulance on scene as well, like, they'll want him alive. Like, they'll shoot him, but they'll want him alive. Just seen an overhead helicopter footage of the cemetery, and there's things scattered on the grass and loads of police and 2 people in blue forensic suits. Some police and paramedics went in the trees. So look, if we've got any more. That's what we've seen. Why are they making this a race thing? It's not a race thing. What are they going on about? Fast-moving situations, a lot we don't know, but it's one thing we do know, and it's depressing and devastatingly familiar. 3 women are dead. They were killed in their own home. A mum, she was 61, 2 girls, 25 and 28, both in their 20s. That decade when you're working out who you want to be and where you want to go with your life. But for them, that's now over. A woman is killed by a man every 3 days in the United Kingdom. That number has been remarkably consistent for the last 20 years. Women are also more likely to be killed by someone they know. 2/3 of them are killed by a current or former partner. But interestingly, more men are victims of homicide than women. It just so happens that if you're a woman and you're a victim of homicide, you're more likely to be intimately associated with your killer. More men are killed by strangers or acquaintances. I know this stuff like the back of my hand. It's so depressing. Domestic, that word that someone doesn't feel adequate, because terror can also happen in the home. Remember, the 3 women killed at home in Bushy were still alive when the emergency services got there. In fact, Cooper, the new Home Secretary, has said the killings are truly shocking, and she's been kept fully updated on the case. During the campaign, she said that violence against women and girls will be treated as a national emergency under Labour. And less than a week into the job, 3 women killed at home. Certainly feels like an emergency. Thank you, Sophie Ridge from Sky News. No, still no other updates. No. I think they've got him. I really do. The fact that nobody's updating, the fact that we just got this radio silence, like everyone's just on tenterhooks now. And the fact that there was an air ambulance, the fact that, you know, an ambulance drove away when ambulance drove away, forensics went in. Somebody at that scene is injured. They've not got him. Where are you getting that from? 6 p.m. Sky News update. Let's go there right now. No. Sky News has more annoying. Annoying. And they play it like every 10 minutes. It's so annoying. I'll turn it back up when I start talking. It's such annoying music. I'm breaking up. Am I?
It's 6 o'clock. I'm Matt Barbett. This is the News Hour, live from Bushey in Hertfordshire, which this evening is at the centre of a huge police investigation. It is where the wife and 2 daughters of the racing commentator John Hunt were killed in a crossbow attack last night. Police say they're looking for this man, 26-year-old Kyle Clifford, and warn he is likely to still be armed.
The manhunt also involves armed police officers and specialist search teams responding at pace in the wake of what has been an horrific incident.
Right now, police are searching an area near a cemetery in North London. We'll bring you all the very latest from both scenes.
Also ahead this hour, Keir Starmer is in Washington for his first NATO summit as Prime Minister, as world leaders focus on the war in Ukraine. The summit is being hosted by President Biden. Tonight, the Democrat-supporting actor George Clooney says it's time for the curtain to come down on his presidential race. Plus, Alec Baldwin's trial gets underway of the fatal shooting of a crew member on the set of the film Rust.
And I'm live in Dortmund ahead of a huge night for England's footballers. They're looking to make the final of the Euros for the second time in a row. Standing in their way are the Netherlands and their army of orange-clad fans. The match kicks off in 3 hours. We'll bring you all the build-up from here in Germany and back home in England.
I don't care. Don't care.
We'll be speaking to the DJ whose music is driving on the Dutch team here at the Euros.
Oh, here we go.
Good evening, good to have you with us. Armed police officers are carrying out a major manhunt for a suspect believed to have murdered the wife and 2 daughters of a BBC and Sky sports presenter here in Hertfordshire. The 3 women have now been identified as 61-year-old Carol Hunt, the wife of Sky Sports racing presenter and BBC commentator John Hunt, and also the couple's 2 daughters, 28-year-old Hannah and 25-year-old Louise. Police and paramedics tried to save the women, who were found just after 7 o'clock last night, but they were pronounced dead at the scene. Hertfordshire Police say they are urgently looking for 26-year-old Kyle Clifford, who may still be armed with a crossbow and also other weapons. They have warned people not to approach him. Chief Superintendent John Simpson gave this statement on the manhunt.
Police were called to a property in Ashland Close just before 7 p.m. last night. Officers attended alongside colleagues from the East of England Ambulance Service and, on arrival, found 3 women with serious injuries. Sadly, despite their best efforts, the women, who are believed to be related, died a short time later at the scene. The victims are aged 25, 28 and 61. Our overarching objective today is to protect public safety and to locate Kyle Clifford, who is wanted in connection with the murder of the 3 women in what we believe is a targeted incident. We have extensive police resources deployed to various locations in North London and also the Bushy area of Hertfordshire. The manhunt also involves armed police officers and specialist search teams responding at pace in the wake of what has been an horrific incident.
Well, right now, police are searching an area near a cemetery in North London. We'll speak to Sky News' Rachel Venables, who is there in a moment. But first, I'm joined here in Bushy in Hertfordshire by Ashna Huranag, who's been here most of the day. Ashna, why don't you just talk us through the series of events?
Well, it's a heartbreaking incident to be here reporting on, and I think there's been a real palpable sense of shock from people here in this community. This simply doesn't happen in this area. This is a quite affluent, wealthy place to live. You come here to retire. You might be here as a working professional. So I think this has absolutely taken everybody by surprise. And you can only imagine the shock and that started when they heard those police sirens. Dozens of police vehicles were here last night, 7 o'clock. We know in the evening is when they went down to the house at the bottom of this cul-de-sac behind us, and they found the bodies of those 3 women. We know that the first responders and the officers and the paramedics who are all on that scene and at the house, they did all they can to try and save the lives of those women who ultimately had fatal injuries, and they later went on to die at the scene. Today we have seen helicopter shots and pictures and footage of what appears to be and what is a forensics tent outside in the front garden of the house. There are 3 cars parked outside that house. We can't currently see it from where we are. But we know there are screens sort of giving the family as much privacy as possible, because it truly is quite a horrendous thing to even be working on if you're one of those officers or first responders in there. We've seen ambulances, private ambulances too, going in as they try and piece together the events of what happened here last night. But people described hearing screams, some of the residents that we spoke to, people here saying there were so many personnel here, whether it be emergency responders or emergency services, that they simply didn't know what was going on. One resident told us he thought that there was a terrorism incident going on. So a real palpable sense that people here in very much a sense of shock.
And I know you've been speaking to people throughout the day about their reaction. Let's have a listen.
Suddenly you notice there was police outside in black uniform with sort of semi-automatic guns walking around. So I initially thought it might be terrorists or something, but that's all I can say. And then they were here all last night. Obviously it's been blocked off and everything's been going on, but it's been a bit of a shock because it's a really residential area.
Well, look, it's horrific. I came yesterday in the evening after my wife called me several times. She was like panicking what's happening. There was a dozen police cars down the road, so she's asking what's going on. I obviously said, then I got calls from other people saying that something tragic had happened. I only learned this morning that there's actually 3 people with.
All right, so the Mail Online is reporting that he's been caught. So I don't know where they've got their information from, but this is the Mail Online. Triple murder suspect Kyle Clifford is caught in cemetery after tying up BBC star's wife and daughters and shooting them dead with a crossbow. Fugitive accused of murdering 3 people with a crossbow has been caught in a cemetery. He was seen being bundled into the back of an ambulance in the Hilly Fields area of Enfield on Wednesday afternoon. So the journalists who were there maybe actually saw it. So it's interesting that Sky News, though, are not reporting on it yet. For God's sake. Dropped out of the army weeks before he's alleged to have murdered 3 people. Police scoured the area. Their attention turned to Clifford's hometown of Enfield. Armed police paramedics filmed this afternoon, running to London Hill Cemetery. Later, armed police closed down the cemetery. 5-minute walk from the house. Meanwhile, an ambulance rushed into the cemetery grounds with blue lights flashing and sirens on. Re-emerged about 20 minutes later, still in emergency mode. Okay. You're going to give us more writing. All right. 2 helicopters were also spotted hovering, one believed to be an air ambulance, which landed in the cemetery grounds. Earlier, officers raided a house. Okay. Found the suspect's car. Blah, blah, blah. So, Mail Online reporting that. Yeah, traumatise them. Were they military police then, or SWAT? They're armed response. So basically a SWAT team. Right, they're armed response police officers. So it's not the military police. It's the regular police, but they're just the armed tactical unit people.
Place a family will take their children for a picnic at the weekend. It's an area with huge open spaces, but also plenty of tree cover and a hugely beautiful area. And this is where we've seen armed officers going around in groups, methodically searching through the land here as they carry out the manhunt for Kyle Clifford. We know also, of course, the 26-year-old living in the area. They also searched an address earlier this morning as well. But there was a huge flurry of activity a couple of hours ago when just down the lane here behind me, Cook's Hole Road, if I step, you'll be able to see the police van that is blocking this lane, and also further down, officers standing guard. They've been stopping members of the public from going through for the last few hours. We were actually down there when armed officers suddenly sprinted forward. You had police cars with their lights flashing, their sirens on, racing down this lane. They ran into the cemetery, the Lavender Hill Cemetery, which is just to my right here. We also saw paramedics, ambulances going through, and a huge amount of activity with the fire brigade arriving and the London Air Ambulance landing, we think, in Hilly Fields, just to my left here. So a huge amount of activity. But we are still waiting to hear from the police if this was connected to the search. But it tells you a huge amount of how the tensions are here as they search for Kyle Clifford. As we know, who they told us about this morning, they believe to be in possession of something as deadly as a crossbow and potentially other weapons as well. So there's a real amount of concern for the safety of the public, as well as the police, desperate, of course, to solve this horrendous case.
Interesting. Interesting that they're not saying he's been caught, but the Mail Online are. Do not all police in the UK carry guns? No, it's just the armed response people. In Northern Ireland, they're allowed to carry guns, or at least they were. I don't know whether that's still the case. So Northern Ireland is part of the UK, but that was because of the troubles in Northern Ireland. But no, England, Scotland, Wales, they don't routinely carry a gun. Like, they need the armed response people. So, no.
All our thoughts and prayers are with John and his family, to whom we send our love and deepest condolences. May God give them the strength to cope with this unimaginable tragedy. And it is unimaginable, a real shock to people here in Bushey in Hertfordshire. On the UK Tonight at 8 o'clock, we'll be presenting a special programme from here in Bushey as the manhunt continues to find Kyle Clifford.
Matt, thank you. The Prime Minister is in Washington for his first NATO meeting since the election. Sir Keir Starmer is already...
Don't care. In South Africa, they carry guns, cops armed. Every officer in the US has a gun. Some officers in the City of London also carry guns. Oh, okay. But it's not a routine. It's not routine. In airports, yeah. All right, I bet he tortured them. It's unimaginable. Unimaginable. So isn't it interesting that the Mail Online is reporting that he's been caught, and yet Sky aren't? They're saying they're still hunting for him. I mean, Twitter is all saying that they've caught him now, but what's this one? Oh no! So everybody's sharing this from the Mail Online. So it'll be interesting to see whether the Mail Online have just jumped too soon, or whether there was actually a reporter there who saw it. That was published at 17:54. Sky should say something soon. Yeah, it does. Crossbow, it's a massive skill. Yeah, you can't just pick up a crossbow and fire it. It's you've got to have the strength, but also you've got to have the skill to it. There's a knack to it that you've got to learn. I only know because I used to work with someone who did archery. Who used to do stuff with crossbows. Yeah, I don't know whether it's all airports or even all officers at airports. When was the last time I was in an airport? In 2019. It was before COVID. I've not gone anywhere at all since before COVID. And I don't remember whether I saw officers with guns at Manchester Airport. But I wasn't looking, so... Do I ever think that some months have more murders than others? Yes, it's been studied that some months do have more murders. Like the summer months are more popular. I think Christmas time is also another trigger. So it's basically holiday periods. There's more violent crime when there's a sporting event on. It's just a fact. They have them at Stansted. Yeah, Christmas is a trigger. Yeah. Not just murders. I'm talking about violent crime generally. You know, you've got increases in people, you know, being off work, people drinking, just that increased leisure time. It just creates madness in people. The devil makes work for idle hands is true. So if what this report's saying is true in the Mail Online, he's just recently left the army. So something unhinged about him. Something unhinged. I bet it's something like she got a new partner and he couldn't cope. It'll be something along those lines. I bet you. It usually is. That there's usually a trigger. But I'm not seeing anybody except that one report in the Mail Online reporting it. Oh, Sky News. Man seen being stretchered out of cemetery. A man being stretchered out of Lavender Hill Cemetery in Enfield. Man could be seen receiving medical treatment in the cemetery, which is close to the suspect's home. Understands he was taken to the Royal London Hospital. What's all that crap on the floor? Oh. I can't tell, but what is all that crap on the floor? Search in Enfield may have come from a tip-off. We're getting more news from our police commentator, Graham Wetton. Oh, he's been spouting about Jay Slater. He just spouts off his own opinion, which is fine. It's like Lowell, an area where police were focusing search. It's like Lowell's were waiting for news. Yes, well. Oh, the Mail Online, right. Oh, got a picture. Not much of a picture because they blurred it. They blurred it, which is interesting. Is it him? Huh. Medical debris on the floor from paramedics. Yeah, I think it has to be. Medical supplies. Yeah, I think it has to be. Sister is the head of clinical psychology at a major university in the United States. She said the rate of crime and anger is increased dramatically during the worldwide event. Low mood, high stress. Yeah. Absolutely. Sounds like he's alive. Yeah, it does. It does. Shot but not killed. Well, that'll displease him. Perfect. Perfect for justice, though. Because you shoot him, he thinks he's going to be taken out by a cop. Suicide by a cop because he's a coward. And he's not. He's shot. He's taken down. And then the paramedics save his life. And then he goes to prison forever. So he has to then be forced, if he wants to depart this world, he's then forced to actually do it himself. That's perfect. So, Sky Live are not reporting still. They're on the football now. It's the Euros for those in the not in Europe. The Euros are on at the moment, so big football tournament. So England are playing tonight in the semi-finals. Looks like they cut his claws off. Do we want him to survive to first trial? I would prefer him to be alive to first trial. I would prefer that. I mean, look, it saves money, but in terms of actual justice, then he should first trial. He should be he should be convicted of the crimes that he's done, and he should do his time. Looks like skin under the blur bit. Well, yeah, they will. They'll cut your claws off if they're, you know, they're just working. Yeah, he'll get a whole life term or close to one, and he'll have to sit there and think about what he's done for the rest of his life. Has Kyle gone to watch the England match? No, it's in Germany. Oh, got an update. Here we go. Here we go. This is Sky News. So I trust Sky News. Not that I don't trust Mail Online, but they do get stuff wrong. Like the Mail Online, they have great pictures. I always go when there's a case, I always go to the Mail Online because they have all the best pictures. Like they have like reporters in the best angles and stuff. But when I want actual confirmation, then I'd prefer it to come from an agency like Sky News. So, triple murder suspect detained by police, being apprehended, has been taken to hospital. Officers have launched a man, blah, blah, blah. So they've got him. They've got him. All right. That's what we needed. We wanted that final confirmation. They've got him and he's alive. So probably not his plan. Probably wanted to do like go out in a blaze of glory, suicide by cop. It's the ultimate coward's move. And he's not got his wish. So are they going to save his life? Is he going to be fatally injured? We don't know yet. But that's good. That's good. Good stuff. So Mail Online were right. They got it many minutes before everybody else. So they must have been there. The Mail Online must have been there. Is he a boyfriend? He's an ex. He's a disgruntled ex of Louise, the youngest daughter. Police said the suspect was found in the Enfield area this afternoon and is receiving medical treatment after being found with injuries. No shots were fired by police. All right, that's interesting. So he had attempted to kill himself. So Twitter was wrong. And Twitter was wrong. Twitter's often wrong, to be fair. But no shots were fired, so he'd tried to harm himself. Well, at least that's something. At least that's something. Huh. Maybe the dog had him. Yeah. Maybe they sent a dog off. It doesn't actually say self-inflicted injuries, does it? Maybe a police dog took him down, which would be good because they're pretty efficient. They're pretty efficient at a takedown. Oh. Force said it believes Clifford was known to the victims. Following extensive inquiries, the suspect has been located. No one else has been sought in connection with the investigation at this time. Detective Inspector Justine Jenkins from Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire Major Crimes Unit said, "We've had an overwhelming number of calls and would like to express our gratitude to the members of the public who have contacted us. We would still appeal for anybody with information or footage to please contact police directly and refrain from commenting on social media as this could affect the progress of the case." So they've got him alive. They do expect there to be a case. That's good. That's good. So if you're in the area, please do not post all your stuff on social media at this time. Just give it to the police, let them deal with it. This dude is, you know, if he's recovering from his injuries, he's facing justice. We've got to let the justice process take over. Probably tried to off himself. Either that or it was a takedown, but not a shooting. That's good. Good stuff. Oh, let's have a look. Sky are on it. Let's have a look.
Unusual step to name him and show his image today, this morning. That clearly showed the urgency that this manhunt was taking place. So clearly wanted to find him as soon as possible. The public were informed, the police were informed that he had links to the Enfield area. Understanding is that's where he's been located, in the area they thought he would be in. So a huge policing operation from here in Bushy down to Enfield in London, about a 30-40 minute journey away. I can't tell it. So he's obviously gone back to where they thought he was. They've located him in the cemetery and arrested him, now taken him to the Royal London.
The police, they're keen to stress that no shots were fired because there were armed officers involved in this search.
Yeah, and that's key. If you're dealing with someone who's armed with weapons, either pointed blades, crossbows, etc., it should be firearms officers that confront them, that challenge them first of all. So it would seem they've deployed armed officers into the location, clearly located him, and then got him the medical treatment he obviously requires at the time, and he's then with the paramedics.
Yes, has been found alive, but is injured, as you say there, Graham, is being treated. Highly unusual, all this. I mean, this is such a normal place, isn't it? A normal cul-de-sac, a sunny summer evening. People absolutely in shock as to what happened here some 24 hours ago. But what happened next with the way the police have managed this hunt for this man is out of the ordinary.
It is. I think that showed the urgency of the manhunt, though. The seriousness of the incident, shocking, awful incident that's happened literally around the corner, as you said. Really quiet residential area. You know, driving in here, it just looks any other suburban area. But I think it showed the sense of urgency that the police, the investigation team had. They needed to locate him as soon as possible, hence the public appeal, the name, the photograph, etc. Officers being here all day, securing the crime scene, but knowing that the priority for them was to locate him and detain him as soon as possible. And it seems that's what they've done within a matter of hours.
Just to remind you of the context of why we're here in Bushy in Hertfordshire, because it was around about 7 o'clock last night when the emergency services were alerted with 3 women in a house in this cul-de-sac behind me, just around the corner. You can't see it from our camera here. 3 women found in a home with serious injuries. They were said to be alive at the time, but despite the best efforts of paramedics on the scene, they subsequently died at the scene. They are thought to be the wife and 2 grown-up daughters of a racing commentator known to plenty of people who watch Sky Sports and also BBC coverage of racing as well, John Hunt. But then let's just remind people that the officers who arrive on scene, the paramedics who arrive on scene, this isn't routine for them either. This is a shock to their systems too.
It is. You hear those types of calls come out where either someone's been injured, seriously injured, even the word seriously injured or stabbed or whatever. You're not too sure what you're going to find when you walk into these properties. And you look around at the officers, look at the officers on the crime scenes. We've got a very young response workforce at the moment within policing. You know, many of them, the majority of them, got less than 5 years service. So very early on in their careers, not quite maybe never been to something like this before. So it's a huge shock for them, huge shock for the paramedics. But again, the professionalism kicks in, the training kicks in. Priority is to save life, work on saving life, and then securing the scene, working on the scene, making sure that's all secure. And we've seen the cordons in place. Numerous officers walking around the area, just reassuring the public. As I walked in, spoke to a couple of officers walking in, just, you know, are you okay? Is everything okay? Just lots of reassurance going on. So, and that work will have to continue over the next few days in this area.
Let's just remind you of where exactly we are. We're in Hertfordshire, the home counties, of course, but this really is part of the Greater London conurbation. Yes, it's served by the Hertfordshire Police Force, but the Metropolitan Police are in London as well. Just quick final question to you, Graham. I mean, a multi-agency response to this, and Enfield being where they found the man they were looking for in North London, of course. So your former force, the Metropolitan Police, would have been involved there too.
Yeah, absolutely, and they do work very closely. This was a met area until all the boundaries changed. So they work very closely with Hertfordshire. Met officers will probably drive into the local town centre and go out again, as you know, in your normal course of business. Same with Hertfordshire. They'll have incidents that will take them across the border, so to speak, across the boundary. So they are well used to working alongside each other in instance, but a major and serious incident like this requires a lot more closer cooperation. I think we've seen that today with the information being passed to the Met and the Met reacting to maybe a sighting or information that the suspect was in the location he was found in.
Let's go back to Rachel Venables, who is in Enfield for us this evening. And Rachel, let's remind viewers that a lot of activity started to happen around about an hour and a half ago around that cemetery where you are.
Absolutely. This has been a hive of activity all day, with the police letting the public know so early on, around 8:30 this morning, that Kyle Clifford was their suspect, was the man they wanted to speak to, with them later talking about how he may be in possession of a crossbow. We knew that this is the area that he's from Enfield in North London. There's normally quite quiet borough, which is only around 16 miles or so away from Bushey. They searched an address quite early this morning, but certainly for the last few hours into the afternoon and then the early evening, they have been focused here at Hillyfields, which is a large park, public park, which is really enjoyed by local people, a huge area to the north of Enfield town. And this is where we have seen armed officers in huge groups with balaclavas across their faces, moving through the park, through the shrubland, the grassy areas, the tree cover, searching for any clues, any hint or sign of Kyle Clifford. And then a couple of hours ago, we saw just down the road, which is just behind me, being blocked now by a police van, Cook's Hole Road. Officers and paramedics sprinted down a few hours ago, going through the gate into Lavender Hill Cemetery. And there was a huge amount of activity there as well, with paramedics rushing forward. We also saw fire officers, firefighters turning up in trucks. But then in the past few hours, things have quietened down. It was almost a moment of a flash, and then it was all over. And now, of course, we have had that crucial piece of information coming from the police that wanted man Kyle Clifford has been located here in the Enfield area. And we're also being told that he is being treated for medical, he's receiving medical treatment, having been found with injuries. No more details about what injuries he's received. I mentioned, though, of course, here we saw paramedics and ambulances. We don't know if this was the location. As to say, we're still awaiting the crucial details, but it's really interesting to see how much happened here with that piece of information from the police. Crucially, also, they are at pains to let the public know that no shots were fired. I mentioned the huge armed officer response that we saw, because as we've said already, the police were looking for a suspect that they believed may be armed with a crossbow and potentially other weapons as well. Police also saying to us that at this stage, they believe the suspect was known to the victims. But of course, it's a moment for the emergency services to take a breath, almost, to take a pause and a sigh of relief, as that moment of the manhunt phase certainly is over. That moment where they were fearing for potentially members of the public can pass. And now, of course, it progresses to a new phase as they focus really on those awful details of what happened in Bushey last night, as the family there and the community try to come to terms with just that utter devastation, the loss of 3 women, the murder of 3 women, a mother and her 2 daughters, and police focusing on the investigation, trying to piece together what happened and gather that all-important evidence as well.
Yeah, Rachel, thank you very much indeed. Let's just remind you of the statement that emerged in the past few minutes, just confirming what Rachel described there in Enfield. A man wanted in connection with a triple murder in Bushey, which is where I'm currently stood, has been traced to a location in North London. Following an extensive search, Kyle Clifford, who's aged 26, was found in the Enfield area by officers this afternoon. He is, as Rachel said there, receiving medical treatment, having been found with injuries. No shots were fired by police. The police statement continues. At this stage, we believe the suspect was known to the victims. Detective Inspector Justine Jenkins, who's from the Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire Major Crime Unit, said this continues to be an incredibly difficult time for the victim's family, and we would ask that their privacy is respected as they come to terms with what has happened. This investigation is moving at pace, and formal identification of the victims is yet to take place. Just sub-editing it a little bit for you. They said they had an overwhelming number of calls and would like to express their gratitude to the members of the public who have contacted us. They remind people that they would still appeal for anyone with information or footage to please contact police directly and refrain from commenting on social media, as this could affect the progress of the case. We have set up an information portal where people can submit any information, photos or video footage which they feel could assist us with our investigation. Ashna Huranag is still here with me in Bushey in Hertfordshire, where this all began 24 hours ago, Ashna, with the discovery of a mother in her 60s and her 2 grown-up daughters injured, ended up being fatally injured in a house just around the corner there.
Yeah, it's coming up to 7 o'clock, and that was the time yesterday evening in which police officers from Hertfordshire Constabulary and also the paramedics here came to this part of a very quiet suburban part of Hertfordshire, and they made that discovery yesterday. And actually, in hearing that Clifford has now been found and located, not yet arrested, because we understand he is receiving that medical treatment, it is extraordinary to bring you some of these Sky News pictures in which we captured a little bit earlier on, which shows how there was frequent movement from armed officers going into that cemetery in Enfield, not far from where he lived, and in a significant police presence that afternoon, in which we could see lots of those officers surrounding a stretcher of an individual. We now know that that individual was Kyle Clifford. You can see him being taken out of the cemetery. These understandably weren't pictures we were able to show because it wasn't quite clear yet who exactly that individual was, but Clifford can be seen in those pictures receiving medical treatment in the cemetery, which is incredibly, as I say, close to his home. It's understood, we understand that he is currently receiving that medical treatment at the Royal London Hospital, where there will be officers present at his bedside, so that questions can commence as soon as he is able and fit enough to do so. That is after that tragic and horrifying incident that we learnt about this morning that took place last night in this, as I say, very quiet area. And we know that the victims of that tragic incident have today been named as Louise, Hunt, Hannah, and their mother, Carol, the children and the wife of Sky News broadcaster.
Ashna, thanks very much indeed for the time being. We should just remind you exactly where we are. Bushey in Hertfordshire, sort of northwest of London. It's still within the M25 orbital motorway, and Enfield, where all the activity has been happening the past couple of hours, around about 18 miles, a 40-minute drive across North London as well. Messages of condolence have been posted on social media by plenty of people who know John Hunt from across the racing world. The spokesperson for Sky Sports said that everyone at Sky Sports Racing is deeply saddened by the tragic deaths in Hertfordshire, and our thoughts are with our colleague John Hunt, his family and friends at this awful time. TV racing commentator Matt Chapman wrote on social media that there were no words needed for what has happened to John Hunt and family today. Impossible to comprehend the pain. Just know we are all here for you, John, Matt continues. We love you, pal. Racing loves you, he said. And the Amateur Racing Association for Great Britain posted on Facebook the most shocking and horrifying news. All our thoughts and prayers are with John and his family, to whom we send our love and deepest condolences. May God give them the strength to cope with this unimaginable tragedy. Graham Wetton is still with me now, our policing commentator, former senior police officer with the Metropolitan Police. It feels like quite a while since we've had this kind of big operation. Well, in the UK, let alone in London. I mean, people in this area got familiar with this kind of thing when terrorism was rife, and we know that people waking up this morning thought that that was exactly what was happening here, given the police presence. So it just goes to show how unusual it is anywhere in the UK.
Yeah, it is, and I think that came out from the press conference by the senior Hearts officer when they released the information, a targeted incident. So that's almost emphasising the fact that this isn't normal by any stretch of the imagination. Yes, serious crime, serious violence is on the rise in some places, but in this sort of area it isn't. It's an unusual incident in this sort of residential area. It's clearly been targeted because they've said that, targeted incident. So it sort of speculates or suggests that there's some sort of relationship or background to this, but that will come out with the investigation. Now they've located him and detained him and he's in custody, they can now focus on a thorough and intensive investigation of the scene and try and establish exactly what happened, when it happened, how it happened, and the big question as to why. That's what most families always want to know. Why has this actually happened?
Yes, look, with proceedings continuing, things change in terms of what we can talk about in particular. But there is a crime scene around the corner. We see a police presence here. It is still cordoned off. People living in the area not going to be able to go to and from particularly easily. These things take a while if they're doing it properly.
Yeah, there'll be a thorough investigation of the scene. So they want to literally be.
Okay, so yeah, hopefully he will be in lots and lots of pain, and he survives, and he faces justice. So, like the police said earlier, if you're in the area, please don't start posting footage on social media. Send it to the police, and let them take it from there. Do you think he'll try an insanity plea after a botched suicide attempt? He might try, but he's not going to get very far. Not going to get very far at all. Do I know what his possible punishment will be? Do you have a final punishment like we do in the UK where his life would be traded for those he took? No, we don't have the death penalty in the UK. The worst he can get is a whole life term, which means that he will stay in prison for his entire life with no possibility of parole. It is actually quite rare that murderers get a whole life term. It's reserved for the worst of the worst of the worst. But he could be one. If he doesn't get a whole life term, like Lucy Letby, for example, you know, the baby killer, she's got a whole life term. He's going to get, I would say, in excess of 30 to 40 years, even if he doesn't get a whole life term before he gets a possibility of parole. So he's 26 now. He's going to be at the very most an old man. At the very least, rather, he's going to be an old man by the time he's even eligible for parole. And even then, just because you're parole eligible doesn't mean you'll necessarily get parole. But no, we don't have the death penalty here in the UK anymore. So, oh yeah, he'll lay around and yeah. But hopefully he'll be in lots and lots of pain while he's doing it. And that's how justice should be done. He should sit in jail, and yes, it's money. It's a lot of money to keep someone in prison for their entire life. But at the end of the day, that's the system. It wouldn't upset me if he died. Wouldn't upset me at all if he died. But I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him face justice. Hopefully he'll plead guilty and save the family the stress of a trial. But yeah, don't take a full family out. Exactly. All right, I'm going to go, though. This is Sky News on YouTube. So if you want to carry on watching the footage after I go, here's the link. I think it's just going to, cycle now. It'll cycle with the same content for a while, either until he dies, maybe dies of his injuries, or there's a police statement. But Sky will just say all the same things. These are neighbours that were interviewed earlier. I recognise them. So, right, I'm going to go now. I'm going to change my title of this live stream. Now that we're actually live, we're actually watching, and he was caught. He was caught in the process of this live stream. So that's always good to know. Good to know. He's in hospital. Officers at his bedside. And just as soon as he's well enough to speak, he will be interrogated. So that's good. That's good. All right, guys. Thank you all. Thank you, mods. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. See what comes of this. I'll keep following I'll keep following this. I'll if there isn't any updates later, like, you know, police statement or whatever, I'll put it on my community wall over on Michelle After Dark. Not on this channel. I don't tend to update my community wall on this channel. But if you go over to Michelle After Dark, then I'll post any updates as they come in on my community wall. And otherwise, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.